And this is part of how we avoid bypassing protectors, which is a real risk in IFS and something that can be very dangerous. Going Inside is a podcast on a mission to help people heal from trauma and reconnect with their authentic self. Join me, trauma therapist John Clarke, for guest interviews, real-life therapy sessions, and soothing guided meditations. Whether you're navigating your own trauma, helping others heal from trauma, or simply yearning for a deeper understanding of yourself, Going Inside is your companion on the path to healing and self-discovery. Download free guided meditations and apply to work with me one-on-one at johnclarketherapy.com. Thanks for being here. Let's dive in. My name is John Clarke. This is Going Inside Live. I'm a trauma therapist out here in San Francisco, California. I also run a teaching practice called Calm Again Counseling in San Francisco. And I'm a trainer, supervisor, consultant for therapists who are wanting to deepen their trauma work. Part of how I do that is through my program, Pathways to Self. You can join Pathways to Self at johnclarketherapy.com/pathways. It includes a weekly consult group where you can get help from me every single week in a small setting on Zoom. Highly recommend that you join that program if you're interested in working with me directly. If you have questions, submit them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to jump right in with our pre-submitted questions. First one is from Summer. Summer says, do you always go through all of the managers and firefighters before going to the first exile? The way I would answer this question is it's not really like going through the managers and firefighters. It's more inviting protector response along the way. When you sufficiently invite protector response all along the way, protectors will generally show up and speak out and object if you invite their objections. So in order to keep the work safe, you just want to be asking about protectors all along the way. And this is part of how we avoid bypassing protectors, which is a real risk in IFS and something that can be very dangerous. So yeah, it's just kind of a different way of thinking about it. Another question from Summer. Summer says, does it take months before moving to exiles? In demos, it seems the therapist is working through managers to exiles in one session, and the demos typically seem to be with people familiar with IFS. Well, I'll answer that question first. Yes, part of why demos are so skewed, and I'm guilty of it because I have a lot of demos on my channel and on the podcast, is that people typically know enough about IFS, or they know a lot about IFS, or they're an IFS therapist, so it looks really easy to work with their system. They might already have some awareness of their parts and some relationships with their parts, so that the therapist, like me, I'm benefiting from those connections and from that head start. So typically we have a real head start. Also, there's some pressure to kind of like perform. And so in terms of on the client side, and so they're often going to feel some of that pressure, and their parts are going to kind of come out of the woodwork a bit more because they want this demo to go well and they want it to be helpful for me, the therapist. So a lot of reasons why a demo can often look and feel like almost an accelerated version of the model, which it can be. That being said, so does it take months before moving to exiles? Well, the goal, so to speak, is never to move toward exiles necessarily. It's not to get to the exile. This is, again, a dangerous mentality. The goal is to increase self-leadership and to restore a greater sense of harmony in the system. Part of how we do that is we go in and we make sure all parts are heard and understood and witnessed. That's like an oversimplification of the model, because when we are in this mindset of like getting somewhere with it, or unblending parts, or unburdening parts, which is this amazing, incredible, shamanism inspired experience that, we can get really tunnel vision on that like that's what the model is. And those are components of it and the healing steps and whatnot. But the essence of the model is more about being with and listening and understanding parts regardless of their label. This episode is brought to you by Jane, a practice management software and EMR designed to help practitioners run their business, not the other way around. Managing a practice can mean juggling more tools than you ever planned to. One for booking, one for documentation, another for billing. Each solves a small part of the puzzle, but because they don't work together, the manual admin adds up. Jane helps practitioners connect their core tools all in one place. Payments are taken and recorded directly in Jane, so billing stays accurate and easier to track. Jane Websites helps new clients find your clinic online. And if something needs attention, Jane's support team is available by phone, email, chat, with an understanding of how your entire system works together. For added peace of mind, Jane includes privacy and security features like two-step verification, role-based access levels, and HIPAA compliance so that you can feel confident in your practice and knowing that your client data is protected. Practitioners know better than anyone, a little connection goes a long way. To learn more about how Jane can support you, your clients, and your business, head to jane.app/demo. And if you're ready to give it a try, you can use my code JOHN, that's JOHN, for a 1-month grace period on your new account. Again, that's jane.app/demo. Use the code JOHN for a 1-month grace period on your new account. But it's a good question. Again, we just want to really be with whatever parts come. And when we're in our self-energy and we are lacking an agenda, you'll feel it. It'll feel different. It'll feel like you're lacking an agenda. When you feel like you're trying to, quote, make something happen in a session, it'll feel like you have an agenda. There'll be a different energy toward it. Okay, Anna says, have you worked with clients who are really knowledgeable about IFS but don't seem to be getting anywhere? How do you tell them when talking about parts has become a way of avoiding being with them? This is a great question, and it's really common. I had a client who he knew a lot about IFS, and he would literally go and do his IFS work and work with his parts on his own and then come and just report to me during session. Um, yes, it was very boring, but that's how his system worked, at least for the time being. And even though it was frustrating, and of course I wanted to get in there and help him, this is just how his system was organized, and it was proportionate to the degree of trauma in his system. So because of that, my job was just to follow his lead, right? In motivational interviewing, you would call this rolling with the resistance. I don't use the word resistance, but I just honor that this is how his system is working. And his way of staying safe is doing the work on his own and then telling me about it and having my thoughts and feedback. And then he would go and try stuff. That's just how the work happened, right? Eventually I would, want to get to a place with him where we're doing the work in session, but I also am not forcing it by any means. So yeah, a lot of clients are very savvy. They know about IFS and they will be in these kind of, quote, self-like parts where they're talking about parts and talking about the work, but not actually doing it. So the invitation, as always, is to invite them deeper and invite them to go from just talking about these parts to actually, quote, being with them. That's the shift, and where we're inviting them into a deeper level of work where we're actually doing insight work. Yeah. Okay, Chris says this is a marketing question, but in 2026, what simple marketing strategy would you focus on a few hours a month to find a few full pay clients? This is a really good question. I mean, the first thing I would say is your Google listing. This is a hard pivot from IFS, so bear with me. Um, your Google listing, Google business listing, formerly called Google My Business, is one of the easiest things to get traction with. Set up your listing, make sure it's fully active, fill out every single blank on that listing, upload pictures, new pictures, take pictures of your office with your cell phone, upload additional headshots of yourself, etc. IFS is simple, but not easy. On the surface, it's about parts and self, but when you're in the room with a client, things can get complex fast. Helping someone meet a protective part or wounded exile, that takes skill, and most importantly, it takes safety. My name is John Clarke, trauma therapist and IFS therapist, and in this free webinar for therapists and practitioners, we're going to explore the subtleties that make IFS so powerful and how to navigate them with more clarity and confidence. You're going to learn why safety is everything and how to do it well, what trips therapists up when applying IFS in practice, and a simple tool that you can begin using right away. If you want to go beyond theory and truly embody the work, then this is for you. Join the free webinar today. Link is in the description. Make sure that listing is fully complete and you've done everything to make it a very good and complete local listing. If you can, you might ask some colleagues or referral parties in your region for reviews on your listing, because we can't ask clients, right? But you could ask a colleague. They need to be in your area because it's a local listing. So their IP address needs to be local or regional at least. Beyond that, I would still do the same thing I've always done, which, for me, everything is Google focused. It's Google Ads, Google My Business, and SEO. It's really pretty boring, and email marketing. That's it. So build an email list, right? When people join your practice, when clients join your practice, get them to opt into the email list and then send out a monthly newsletter just to stay top of mind for people. Send out some trauma tips or whatever. So if you're working really hard to generate all these leads, and you might see hundreds of clients over the course of your career, but most therapists don't have a centralized place to track them and keep in touch with them. So an email list is where and how you can do that. And then with your SEO, honestly, I would just I'd probably get help with it. Yeah, I'd probably get help with it because I've done it long enough to where it's just better for me to outsource it. Great question. I'll answer a few more, and then if there are any live, I'll answer those, and then we'll wrap up. It'll be a short one today. Um, let's see. I don't know if I answered these before, but I'll keep going unless I hear otherwise. Mark says, how do you know when to ask a part to step back versus not? I have heard that the rule of thumb is that if you ask a part to step back 3 times, then and they keep blending, then that becomes a new target part. That's the IFS answer. I guess I'm, and again, I don't know if I already answered this. I'm just not a huge fan of like this component anyway, of like constantly asking parts to step back. It just feels a little rude to me. I get why we do it. I get the point. I get that you can do it nicely, but it just feels a little dismissive. So I'm more inclined, like when a part appears, just to invite it to the table, so to speak. Megan says, how long does it take for your parts to develop trust with a new provider? Well, it takes as long as it takes. It's a really good question, but it takes as long as it takes. And we move at the speed of trust, right? And everything takes longer than you think it should take. So we all need to be working more slowly. Okay, we have a live question from Gabriel. Thoughts on the value of full IFS certification versus just getting level 1 training? Gosh, it's a great question, and I'm going to try to answer this delicately. I think if you want to do the certification, do it for your own sense of accomplishment, not for the PR of it. That's my answer. I think level 1 can get you solid with your fundamentals, and then you can continue growing with the model through your own IFS therapy work as a client, through consultation and something like Pathways to Self, where we're working with the model every week and keeping that work alive. I think you can go on retreats. You can do all sorts of stuff to deepen your work. There's also IFSCA and Stepping Stones and Stepping Deeper in their programs, which are great. So, but that being said, level 1 is a lot of time and it's expensive, but then levels 2 and 3 are less time and less expensive. So I think that's a very good thing. So if you've done level 1 and the idea of being IFS certified is, compelling to you, then it might make sense to do that. I just wouldn't necessarily expect clients to come pouring in because all of a sudden you're IFS certified and not just IFS trained, meaning level 1 trained. So just make sure you have expectations set about it. Very rarely, I think does a client come in and go, gosh, I want to make sure you're levels 1, 2, and 3 trained. Yeah. They really want to know, like, do I feel safe with you? And do you know IFS? Can you actually use IFS with me? And yeah, I think that's more important. But that's a good question. Okay. Another question from perhaps Katie. When a client keeps coming back to the story, how do you know when to interrupt and when to let them keep going? This is a fantastic question. It's something that comes up a lot in Pathways to Self. Um, if it seems like they're doing good work, I might be inclined to get out of the way and stay out of the way. At the same time, if when they're telling the story, I get a sense that, like, they've told this story a million times and they're not connected to it, there's no affect, right? I might interrupt more because I don't feel like this is super helpful. It's really just an intuition thing, right? It's a judgment, and it's a moment where you go, "Does it seem like we're doing some deeper work here or in some new territory here? Or does it seem like the client is boring themselves?" And then, of course, what you do is you make a process comment, right? Hey, on one hand, I want to hear this full story if you want to tell me. On the other hand, I just want to make sure that you want to tell me this whole story, or check in to see if there's any parts that want to tell me something else or work on something else, right? A lot of times clients are just saying what they think they should say for us to then help. I'm a believer that clients don't know what to talk about in order for us to help them, which is weird. It's a weird admission, but I think it's true. So we have to help them, and I do a lot more interrupting than you would think. We did a demo, excuse me, a role play this morning in Pathways to Self, and I had the therapist role play as their client, and I interrupted a lot because the client was very much in story and bouncing all over the place. And part of our role is to help the client achieve some depth in the work. And how do we achieve depth? By shifting into an internal focus and keeping that internal focus there for as much as they can tolerate safely within their window of tolerance. So with this client, I was interrupting a lot because it was really hard for him to get that internal focus. So, you know, the point is the answer is it depends. And when in doubt, make a process comment. And if you do interrupt or you're afraid of interrupting, make a process comment about that. How is it for me to interrupt you? Is it okay for me to interrupt you? Can we do some contracting around me interrupting you? Or if there's a point at which me interrupting you is too much, you can also tell me and and I'll listen and just go back to bearing witness to your story. So it's a dance, right? Therapy's a dance. This whole thing is a dance. And so we, yeah, we want to invite them to dance. And when it's clunky, we try to talk about it being clunky and see if we can make it a dance again, right? Make it a back and forth. Okay. Probably be my last question from Gabriel again. Could you imagine a situation where it might be appropriate to connect with an exile without first getting permission from a protector? No, not really. Only if you're in the realm of um, direct access where you say, okay, I've tried to help the client access this part, but they're so blended with it and can't unblend. So I am accessing that part directly. And I am confident in the degree of self energy I'm in. And so I'm accessing it directly. But even then, you'd want to get permission from protectors or at least invite those protectors to be there as you access that part. So again, like the point of the model is not to quote, like get to the exile. It's not an exile hunt. But a lot of times it can feel like that. The point of the model is to invite parts forward, right? And if you are in your loving self energy, then parts will come forward. They will come out of the woodwork to meet self and to be with the self energy of the therapist as well. So it's kind of it's a posture thing. And when you have a posture that is inviting and full of self energy, then parts are more inclined to come forward. Yeah. Versus me going in and trying to get somewhere and get to the parts, so to speak. So yeah, good question and an important distinction. As I said at the beginning, if you want to work with me in a small group setting, then coming to Pathways to Self is the thing to do. You can join anytime, you can cancel anytime at johnclarketherapy.com/pathways. You'll get access to our exclusive online community, all of my courses on IFS, my meditations, my demos with commentary, and then, of course, access to our weekly consult group with me and a small group of like-minded practitioners. So sign up at Pathways johnclarketherapy.com/pathways. I hope you enjoyed this. I look forward to talking to you in the next one, and have a great week. See you later. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of Going Inside. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching, and share your favorite episode with a friend. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at John Clarke Therapy, and apply to work with me one-on-one at johnclarketherapy.com. See you next time.